This lesson is on solving linear equations. This is probably the thing of all the topics I'm going to put on here, the thing students have the least trouble with coming out of an algebra class. So I'm only going to do 2 examples. There's just a couple of things I'll point out to look for as you're doing these. Okay, starting, we're going to jump right into a kind of a moderate one. We're going to skip over easy stuff, and hopefully you think this is easy stuff anyway. You have x's on both sides, you have constants on both sides. How do you solve for x? Well, you probably know by now, you move all the x's on one side, you move all the non-x's on one side. So let's put the x's together first, and I'm going to throw them left. So I need to get my x's off the right side and get them to the left side. So I'm going to subtract 5x on both sides, and that's going to give me 3x on the left side. Don't forget to keep that negative in front of the 3. That's a common place for an error. I need to get rid of the 7 because only x is allowed on the left side. Negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10. And finally, divide both sides by the number in front of the x, we call it the coefficient, and you get negative 10/3. That's actually a fine way to keep your answer. Really, we rarely will use mixed fractions anymore. You might have seen it in middle school, but maybe in some word problems, but in your typical algebra, I'd prefer negative 10/3 over negative 3 1/3. I really don't like mixed fractions because in algebra, people, if you write this, they're going to say, oh, you mean negative 3 times 1/3? Oh, you mean negative 1? And you say, no, I don't mean negative 1. But it's confusing because, as you know, when you write 2 numbers next to each other, it's assumed multiplication. So that looks like negative 3 times 1/3. We don't really use that anymore. Maybe an occasional word problem, but get used to just leaving it proper. It's actually easier to leave it, and it's easier to work with it later. So a little side note there. Let's do one more. Let's finish up with 3x minus 2 times 5x minus 7 equals 42. Okay, lots of stuff going on here, and a major place to make a mistake that I see frequently. Before we start moving stuff around, getting the x's on one side, getting the non-x's on one side, we need to get rid of those parentheses. So let's distribute the negative 2 through. Yes, it's a negative 2. Negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. Negative 2 times negative 7, some people like to do this, is positive 14. That sign is going to change. It's a real commonplace for a mistake. Now let's combine like terms, and you see that this here becomes negative 7x. Now 14's got to go. It doesn't have x's, so it's not allowed to stay with the x side. 42 minus 14 is 28. This is looking pretty good. Divide both sides by negative 7, and we get x is negative 4. Box your answer. Notice I'm working vertically. I always want to see you working vertically. I always want to see a box your answer. Hope that helps.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.